Hey y'all, how's it going? We're in a little bit of a different setting. I am pre-recording my video this week because there's life stuff going on and I'm gonna have a little bit of a technology transition from one laptop to another, so I'm not gonna be able to take you along on my vlogs this week. So instead, I thought we would do my 10 gardening essentials. So I am a urban suburban gardener. If you've never been here before, my name is Brooke. I have a backyard garden as well as a community garden plot downtown, and I am in Austin, Texas. So we are in zone 8B. It's very hot. We are now consistently in the 90s. It's extremely humid, and we will be in this state of weather for at least the next 2.5 months. So to all my northerners, you guys hibernate in the winter, we hibernate in the summer. Without further ado, let's get into it. So my first garden essential is this piece of equipment. This is called a hori knife. And my sister got me this for my birthday a couple years ago. And this thing is badass. I mean, this thing is so amazing. It's very sharp. It's got inch markers, so this is basically the only garden tool I use, except for the next one that I'm going to show you. So it has one edge that's serrated and one edge that is straight, and I mean, you could literally only use this as your gardening tool. It's one of my favorites. The one that she got me is from Truly Garden, and it came with this really nice leather case, which I shouldn't admit on camera, but I actually left this case one time out in my plot for like a week. I lost it. I thought I lost it, and it ended up being in my plot somewhere. So this is my number one gardening tool. If I had to recommend a gardening tool to a new gardener, this would be it. The blade's amazing. It does everything. It digs, it chops, it does anything that you would need a garden tool to do. My number 2 gardening essential is a pair of pruners. These are very old. Like they're gonna have to be replaced this year. They're kind of they're a little squeaky. I don't know if you guys can hear that, and they're very rusted. But they do work for what I need them for. However, they are getting more and more dull. So I think I'm going to get a new pair of pruners next year from Felco. But the reason I like having these versus this can be a little bit harsh if you're doing something delicate like pruning tomatoes. So that's why I like to have an actual pair of pruners to prune tomatoes and even cut down plants. Like sometimes if you're chopping down a plant, it's easier to just get it with some pruners rather than try and like saw it off with your hori knife. So these are really the only 2 garden tools that I use. You could probably get each of these for under $40 to $50. So these are my left and right hands in the garden, other than obviously my actual hands. My next garden essential are good hats. So I have 2 different kinds of hats. One's definitely a little more like utility, another one's much more cute and like fashionable. This is also a good beach hat. This is from Amazon. I think I spent 20 bucks on it, not even. And I just really like it. It's nice and light. It keeps the sun off your face. This one I will wear on days where I'm like intensely gardening in the sun for a long time. It's really cute. It's nice and light. And it provides a good wide brim around my face and my neck because I tend to get sunburned. I'm very fair skinned. So having a good cover is extremely important. And this one is from Hemlock Hat Company. Obviously the underside's really beautiful with all the sunflowers. Sun protection, very important, especially for those of us that are very fair skinned. My next garden essential might be slightly controversial, one more than the other. Sunscreen and bug spray. So sunscreen, definitely, I always use SPF 50. Again, I'm extremely fair, and I tend to go for the ones that are water and sun protection, because when you're out in the garden, you're usually sweating, or if you're watering plants, you get water on you, and I reapply probably every 45 minutes at least every hour. I've been badly sunburned so many times in my life. This is very necessary, to the point where it's really sweet. Right before I leave to go to the community plot, my boyfriend will actually ask me if I have sunscreen, because that's how many times I have come home from gardening and been burnt. And the other thing is bug spray. Yes, I use bug spray that contains DEET, and that's because I don't like to get eaten alive by mosquitoes. I've tried citronella, I've tried all the herbal stuff. Mosquitoes have loved me ever since I was a small child. And I had an experience when I was very young. We were in the Ozarks in Arkansas, fishing or something, and I itched open some mosquito bites so bad to the point where I got staph infection on my legs. And when we got home, I wasn't allowed to participate in gym or wear anything that exposed my legs because I had a contagious infection from bug bites. So I'm scarred mentally and emotionally, and so I use bug spray with DEET. And you choose your own path when it comes to bug repellent. My next garden essential for me are having baskets. So obviously this basket's very full. This basket's also very large. I'm extremely blessed. This is a Paul Robeson tomato that I picked today. I am extraordinarily blessed that I have a family who really enjoys antiquing. And so they find all of these old cool baskets for pretty cheap. There's something so beautiful to me about like picking my produce, putting it in this basket, bringing it into the house, putting it in my kitchen. You know, there's something just like very pretty and romantic about that whole idea that I really enjoy. So I love putting all of my produce that I harvest in a basket. And this nice deep one is really great for this time of year because, as you can tell, we are harvesting a lot of stuff. We have in here cucumbers and poblano peppers and big heirloom tomatoes. And then I also have a different basket. This was my original gardening basket that was not quite big enough for my harvesting. This just has all my tools. It has a mask because COVID and the garden. Apparently I keep seeds in here that I never planted. And just a lot of like random tools are what's in this basket. I do always take both. I keep my pruners and my hori-hori knife and my my sunscreen and my bug spray. Like anything that's not produce goes in here. And then this basket actually lives by our front door so that I can just grab it as I'm walking out the door. And so then all my gardening stuff just kind of stays in one place. It's easy for me to grab when I'm leaving to go to the community plot. And so this basket has definitely seen better days. This basket I've had since I started gardening, and it looks rough. The next essential for me at the garden is proper footwear. And that's gonna change a lot with the seasons, but it also kind of changes with what I'm doing at the garden, which might sound kind of stupid, but I talked about how I really love using these baskets for harvesting and stuff because it just feels very romantic for some reason. There's something just really beautiful and romantic about, you know, the basket. And if I'm just going to water or like harvest, maybe I'll wear a dress and have me and my cute hat and my dress and my basket and all that stuff. I really enjoy the beauty of gardening and the beauty of being a gardener. And that's not for everyone, but that is kind of how I look at things. So if I am going to the garden to do like a down and dirty project where I'm like mulching, or, you know, maybe I'm like laying compost, or I'm doing something like stinky and dirty, I go for my Merrells. I have had these forever. They're really solid shoes. They were not cheap. I bought these when I was working in zoos, but I still have them. And so these are my utility footwear. Love these things. And We also have a lot of bugs and snakes in Texas, and so I just feel better when I'm doing down and dirty projects like that having a closed toe on. And then the next shoe that I would consider a garden essential are my Birkenstocks. I promise they get cuter. So my Birkenstocks are just really comfortable. I mean, guys, I used to not think very highly of Birkenstocks, and then my boyfriend got me some for my birthday this year, and I'm obsessed. I have wide feet, I have high arches in my feet, and these are so comfortable. It's just ridiculous. However, because they are open-toed, I will not wear anything open-toed to the garden when I'm doing something that requires tools and digging and like really being down and dirty. Closed-toed shoes all the way. The other shoe that I really enjoy wearing to the garden are my merino shoes. So these are, it's a brand called Merino Shoes, and they are made of merino wool, which is incredibly breathable, and it's a renewable resource out of Australia. These shoes are not cheap. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, none of these shoes are cheap. However, I'm somebody that likes to invest in my footwear, and so these are 100% worth it to me. These are not a shoe that I wear when I'm getting down and dirty and I'm doing dirty work in the garden. This is more of a shoe that I wear when I'm just going to the garden to harvest or water or do something really easy. So these are really great shoes, really love them, worth every penny in my opinion, and they're just breathable, and they're also washable. So if they do get dirty, which like inevitably with who I am as a person, they will. And so I just throw them in the washer, they air dry, and they come out beautiful and looking brand new. So these are merino shoes. I will leave links to all of these products in the description below if you would like to see them. The next essential for me in the garden is a container for water. Now, if you live somewhere very hot, or I mean, it gets hot eventually everywhere, but you want something that is going to be insulated. So this is a Yeti that I got as a gift. This thing is amazing. I mean, Yeti products are great anyways, but you just want something insulated. If you can put ice in it, that's even better. If you can remember to put it in the fridge or freezer to get the metal cold before you actually go anywhere, that's also very ideal. But making sure that you have fluids, because I actually did this to myself today. I went to the garden this morning. It was late in the morning. I forgot to eat breakfast, and sure enough, within 2 hours, I was very lightheaded. I had to sit down. I wasn't sure I could drive home. And the water bottle that I had was BPA-free plastic, but the water got warm. So the water wasn't actually cooling my body temperature down, and wasn't great. And then I had to come home, take a cold shower, get myself fed, and like lay down for a couple of hours because I was just too hot. So make sure you have a vessel for cool water. If you have a vessel big enough, I highly suggest getting those whiskey, the ice cube things that make the big round ice for whiskey. Put that in your water container because it melts a lot slower. So your stuff will stay cool for longer, and it's a good strategy for if you're out in the garden for a long time. The next garden essentials are a little more frivolous, if you will. So the next garden essentials are a good pair of overalls and long dresses. So like I said, whenever I go to the garden, I want it to be this like very beautiful, inspirational experience. It's not going to be that every time. Like today it wasn't. I was like ripping out tomatillo plants, and I was ripping out weeds. You know, there's only so much glamour that goes along with ripping plants out of the ground. But when I'm just going to harvest or water, I really find a lot of personal fulfillment in looking nice and making it a very inspirational experience, and like if somebody were to be inspired by a gardener and somebody sees me walk out of the community garden and I'm wearing a pretty dress that I feel nice in and a hat and I've got my big, basket of produce, like that kind of stuff inspires me. And so I want to embody that inspiration for other people. So and these are also just things I wear every day. This is not something that I just say, oh, I'm going out to the garden, I'm going to change my clothes. This is kind of just like a style that I've embodied in regular life. So I really love long dresses. These both happen to be from Old Navy. And I got them from ThredUp, like the online thrift store. And I don't like them all the way down to the ground. I like them to be like calf length. And that's mostly so I can bend over and pick stuff without giving everybody a free show. So I really like that like mid-calf, I think they call it T-length sometimes, those types of dresses. I prefer them to be tighter on the top so that I can go braless without thinking twice about it. And then be looser on the bottom to just provide some airflow. Like I said, we live in zone 8B. It's hot, it's humid, it's nasty. It's just the more airflow that you can provide and the less things you have to put on, that's really where I like to be. So Old Navy tends to be where I find these like really cute, really easy little dresses that I can just throw on, feel good about going out to the garden, and kind of move along with my day. And for days where I am doing a little bit dirtier work, if you will, I just like having a really solid pair of overalls. These are from Madewell. I really love these. You just put something light on underneath and just go about your work. They're really easy. You can get them dirty. They wash beautifully. I also thrifted these on ThredUp, and they weren't that inexpensive thrifted. I think they were still like $40, but they were much cheaper than they would be brand new. And so highly recommend if you're going to want to look cute at the garden and make it this like inspirational experience for yourself, go get yourself a pair of cute overalls that you feel good in and get yourself some T-length dresses, because the garden is a very inspirational place for me, and I like to embody that inspiration as much as I can. Okay, y'all, my last gardening essential are a pair of headphones. So I am in a suburban and urban environment, which means there's lots of neighborhood noises, whether I'm sure you've noticed if you've watched my vlogs. There's dogs barking, there's shot chucks, there's just neighbors being neighbors and living their lives. And then when I'm down at the community plot, literally the freeway is right there. So you just hear everything. And for me, I started gardening because I needed a place to check out. I needed an outlet to really just not be staring at a screen, experience life and like nurture life. And so it's hard for me to do that when there's a lot of distracting noises around me all the time. And so I use headphones. The funny thing is when I'm gardening at my parents' and my grandparents' house out in the country, I do not use headphones because it's quiet and it's peaceful. But for me, having that quiet and peacefulness in the city isn't as easy. So I usually garden with headphones on unless, I'm alone at the community garden. Safety first, ladies and gents and humans. Make sure you're always aware of your surroundings for sure, but having headphones for me really helps me kind of just tune out the world and focus exactly on what I'm doing, which is gardening. And whether I'm listening to a podcast, which true crime podcasts are really where my heart lies, podcast or music. I love like 70s, 80s music, anything that has a beat and a funk. I've been known to sing at the community garden when nobody's around. So really just having a pair of headphones for me as a suburban and urban gardener is a huge game changer. Thanks so much, y'all. I know this is a very different style video. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you would like to see more. I put out videos every Friday, and then I also have some bonus videos here and there when I have time to shoot them. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great week and happy gardening.